Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we're honored to have on Henry E. Reaves III. He is the owner and the founder of the Reaves Law Firm. We'll talk all about their growth and their philanthropic efforts. But Henry, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, fantastic. Definitely honored to be back here with you. It's been quite a while since we got to talk.
Absolutely. So we will talk about the growth, especially since then you've grown and you have a new office to celebrate as well. We'll talk about that. But for starters, give us a little bit of your backstory coming out of serving with the Air Force. Give us some of your story and what led you to launch and start the Reaves Law Firm.
Yeah, well, I knew that I wanted to be an attorney, and coming out of the Air Force, I ended up going to Indiana University School of Law, ended up coming back to Memphis. I got a job with one of the largest insurance defense firms in the Southeast. I was there for a couple of years, but I knew that I wanted to get to the other side. My heart was really for the plaintiffs as opposed to who I was working for, the large insurance companies and things like that. And I just basically went out and hit the streets trying to get a job. I went to, all the places that you see around advertising, with the catchy jingles and things like that. And I couldn't get an opportunity. And I think a lot of it, probably had to do with me being younger. I'd only been practicing for a couple years, but I kept knocking on these doors, and my very last interview, I was sitting with an attorney with one of these plaintiff firms, one of these large plaintiff firms, and I'm telling them that, hey, I've been on the defense side. I've had so many people asking me about representing them, but I can't do it because I work for the insurance companies, and if you hire me, I could bring these people to you. And I think that they thought that I was probably, doing a little bit of fluffing with it. And so they looked at me and they said, well, if you can, do all that, what do you need us for? And that was pretty much my last interview that I had. And we ended up starting the Reaves Law Firm in 2000 and I want to say it was 2011. And we're in year number 11, and it's been, it's been a great ride.
Absolutely. You've become one of the largest Black-owned law firms here in the Memphis area. And so you've grown tremendously. You have a new office to talk about as well. So talk about the expansion and talk about where you are at this point in terms of number of team members and all sorts of good stuff.
All right. Well, where we are right now, we're roughly close to about 90 staff. We have around 20 attorneys, and the rest of the staff is paralegals, intake department, things like that. We were in Memphis, Tennessee, solely and focused only on Memphis and the Memphis market for the first 10 years of our practice. We want to make sure that we had our processes and our systems in a way that that we could be happy that there's, that we can actually be scalable. And then this last year, we moved into the Jackson, Mississippi market. Matter of fact, just a few months ago, we moved into Jackson, Mississippi. And so now we're handling cases here in Memphis and Jackson, Mississippi, and everywhere in between. It's been it's been a long time coming, but this was always the plan. And it feels good to see a plan finally fall into place.
So what are your primary focus areas for the Reaves Law Firm?
Well, with the rules of professional ethics, attorneys aren't really allowed to say the term specialize, or that they specialize in this or in that. But our primary focus is personal injury. And so we do a lot of car accidents, 18-wheeler accidents. We do premises liability. So basically we have a situation here in Memphis where you have a lot of absentee apartment complex owners who, they may live in another state and they own hundreds and thousands of properties here in Memphis, Tennessee. And a lot of times what you have is you have these owners of these properties, they don't properly fund for security, for lighting, for things like that. Even after people are getting hurt, they a lot of times they put profits over people. So part of our practice is a premises liability practice. The overwhelming majority would be automobile wrecks.
You yourself early on had an automobile wreck. And so you yourself went through the process. And for you, I know it was a lesson around empathy and better understanding, and that empathy is something that really carries through from a customer service side for you and your team. And that's something that I know you specifically hire for, is empathy and understanding. Talk about going through that yourself and carrying that empathy throughout the customer service experience with your team.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, my accident, we talk about any of the accidents or wrecks that happen. One thing that we have to realize is there's a perception of, people get hurt and, it's running after ambulance or cash chasing or trying to get something for free. But in actuality, my clients are hardworking people, and a lot of them have never been in a situation where they have to depend on somebody else for anything. They've been working since they were 15, 16, 17, working in the factory, working a shift over at FedEx, working night shifts. And suddenly, because of no fault of their own, now they're hurt. And so now they're in a situation where they're not able to provide for themselves, or they're not able to provide for their family. And if you don't have a sense of empathy, when people, when they might snap at you a little bit, or they might be, they're going through a lot of things right then at that time. They're dealing with their physical pain, as well as the financial pain, as well as the mental pain of being in a position of dependency, and also being scared and not knowing what's going to happen. And so I think the key to this, when you're dealing with people who've been hurt like this, sometimes people have lost family members or wives or children in these automobile accidents. So empathy is just going to be a prerequisite. No one's going to listen to you. They're not going to take your guidance. They're not going to take your direction if they don't feel that you have care for them, and if you don't care for them. And so you can't do this absent empathy.
Has the industry, in terms of the law industry, the industry you're working in, the professional industry, has it changed any over the last 11 years? Have you seen any sort of trends or changes?
I think in the Memphis market, I think it has changed. I think there was a time when I came in, there may have been one or two people who were kind of advertising as far as personal injury. And I want to say recently, it's a lot of new people have kind of came into the market. And, when you go, every time you ride down the streets, you see a billboard, you see a new billboard, you see new, people on buses, new commercials. So I feel that the industry has become much more competitive. I think part of that is because I feel like Memphis is a city and as a metropolitan area, I feel like it's growing. And so with that comes in new competition nationally from all different states are coming in and kind of setting up camp here.
For you, I know that marketing has always been a heavy priority, and early on, even as an entrepreneur, just out hustling, but really putting a lot of the focus on the marketing. And so getting the word out. When you look at, for you as an entrepreneur, talk about the power of marketing and how that really has helped you build your business.
Every business is, any business, any entrepreneur, it's marketing is one of their main things that they're doing. Like, you have to do it. It doesn't matter how good your product is if nobody knows about it. And so marketing is essential. And so one thing that we're trying to do when we market is a lot of our marketing that we want to do, we want to try to make sure that we're feeding people information and that we're giving them things, as opposed to having a marketing campaign that's always just asking. So one advice that I would have for the people who are, out there, entrepreneurs, doesn't matter if you're an attorney, doesn't matter what you do. When you're marketing, I think that you should always try to give people things. If you give people knowledge, give people guidance, give people direction, give, and, it'll come back to you.
Absolutely. And that's a great transition into your philanthropic efforts in the community. And so you do a number, you and your team and your firm, as a whole, of things in the community to give back and make a difference. And let's start with why community service is so important for you personally and for your firm. Let's start there. So why is community service so important?
I think it's several reasons. One of them would be a debt of gratitude that I have for my community. This is a very competitive area. There are lots of attorneys, lots of law firms. And when I was coming in, I didn't have any type of marketing budget. I was no way that I could compete with a lot of these big dogs. And so the thing that really helped me and put me in a position that I could grow was the support of my community. It was the support of from Whitehaven, from Westwood, from Fraser, from Orange Mound, South Memphis, North Memphis, and things like that. And so I had always had it in my mind, if I was ever put into a position financially where I could help support, my community, that I would do that. So it's a debt of gratitude, but it's nothing that I don't feel bad about doing it. I don't feel like, oh, I got to do it. I'm really look forward to it. I really feel blessed to have the opportunity to do that. And, twofold, it's also, I'm a member of this community. I live in Whitehaven, and I've always, I've lived here from the beginning of my business, and I'm still here, and I will be here. And so this is my community. So by making investments into my community, like as a homeowner, I'm making investments in, the value of my home, the value of the property that I have, making investments into the community that my children will go to school in, and things like that. So, a lot of part of it is, this is my home, and who wouldn't invest in, their home?
Well, let's stay on the Whitehaven thread, because you recently made a contribution, a commitment, a pledge, $150,000 for a new STEM center with Whitehaven High School. Talk about that.
Well, it's it's a new technology age. It's a new industrial age, and I just want to make sure that my community doesn't miss out. I want to try to do everything that we can to make sure that the little boys and girls here in this community, if you look at the labs, Whitehaven High is one of maybe the second largest high school in the city of Memphis, and a lot of the lab stuff and lab equipment, they had lab equipment from the 80s. It's it's 2020, and so it's 2022 now. And so when we're looking at trying to get these children in to be competitive in STEM jobs and these universities, it's very hard to have them prepared if the lab equipment is literally 40 years old. I mean, you can teach as much as you want to teach, but to not have the ability to actually get into that lab and, perform the experiments that you need to perform and do the hands-on things, I think it puts people at a disadvantage. I think it puts these children at a disadvantage. And so the thing that we want to do with this STEM facility is just open it up, not just to Whitehaven High, but all of the high schools in the area. There's lots of high schools in the area that should benefit from this, building. And so when I was brought to me, just having the opportunity to participate in it, that was pretty much a no-brainer. And it all ties back to investing in the community that we claim.
Absolutely. I know that you've done some very generous things supporting utility bills for families with MLGW. Ran into one of your teammates, and you were a sponsor and one of the hosts with the Brush Off Project. It was an art competition benefiting the Alzheimer's Association for art-based projects there. So a lot of ways that you and your team are integrated in and supporting the community. Give maybe one or two other ways or other events or initiatives that put a smile on your face.
I would say the one that definitely puts a smile on our face is, we think of the Esquire Club. That is going forward at Whitehaven High School starting out. And that's basically, it's the mock trial team, but we want to expand it to being more than a mock trial team, having a club that kind of exposes these kids to the legal industry. Because a lot of times, depending on where you grow up and what your household is, you might not have, an attorney who's at your dinner table, or an attorney who goes to church with you, or an attorney who's a cousin. So to really be able to have some of these questions answered, just simple questions, just like, how do I become a lawyer? What type of major do I have to have? What type of college do I need to go to? What type of testing do we need to have? What type of lawyers are there? What are the different areas of law? What are the different areas of laws in Memphis? And so really trying to give these children exposure just to the legal field, to try to see if we could just plant a seed, because we definitely need more lawyers from underrepresented communities to fight for the things that their people need. In addition to that, there's always the Glasses in Classes campaign is near and dear to our heart. And that's just trying to find ways. I see you got some beautiful glasses on. It's just, trying to find ways to make sure that these kids that need glasses are getting glasses and helping them out. That all started from my son, us not knowing exactly why he was having issues and finding out that he needed glasses and he really needed glasses, and then going to get the glasses and being shocked to find out that they were, even though we did have certain types of insurance, seeing that it was $400 like out of pocket expenses. And that, that's mind blowing. And I just know that there's a lot of people who, wouldn't be able to come up with that because they're already trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. And so the Glasses in Classes, with us lending support to make sure that some of these children of the low income communities are having help getting the glasses, that's something that's near and dear to me.
I love it. Absolutely. Is it fun for you to think, when you look at now 11 years going strong, how much you've built? And obviously it's hard work and you're continuing to do it every day, but is it fun to be able to look and see that you've done it your way?
Oh man, it's fun to look back, and I'm gonna tell you, I would not have been able to reflect if it hadn't been for the pandemic, because anyone who's an entrepreneur knows, like, it's time is never off. It's a constant grind. It's a constant struggle. Like, you'll be in bed at night and you'll come up with a marketing idea or a concept or something. And this thing about the pandemic is it really kind of gave you a lot of new perspectives kind of about what's truly important, and things like that. And it also forced us to kind of slow down and reflect. So now one thing that I want to do kind of in this season in my life is just really look back and kind of celebrate the journey and recalibrate, because I still feel like I'm on the just at the end of the first leg of this journey. It's still a long way for us to go. So definitely not complacent, but definitely grateful for everything that we've done and everywhere we come from.
Absolutely. And it gives you so many ways to be able to make a difference in your community, just like we're talking about. So wrap up with contact information. Where can we go to learn more about the Reaves Law Firm?
Hey, you can find us at beyourvoice.com, or you can give us a call at 901-352-0333. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Search for the Reaves Law Firm. There's Reaves, R-E-A with an A, not R-E-E, R-E-A-V-E-S.
Well, Henry, greatly appreciate all you and your team do. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Jeremy, and City of Memphis. Let the Reaves Law Firm be your voice.